Linda Adamson is a police widow.
I miss him terribly, but he's at peace now.
So too is Barbara Irwin.
And my husband was 38, and he gave his life, and I was left with 4 small children.
Both are cop families through and through. Sergeant Ed Adamson's father was chief of police for a decade. His daughter is a sergeant with York Region.
My dad was an amazing police officer, and so was my grandfather.
The badge runs deep in the Irwin family as well.
3 of your sons went on to become police officers,
Yes.
and 1 of your granddaughters.
And I have a grandson as well on the job.
They share hauntingly similar tragedies.
My husband was murdered on the job with another detective, Doug Sinclair.
Barb Irwin's husband died from a bullet to the head in 1972. In 2005, Linda Adamson's husband also died, a gunshot wound to the head. Here is where their tragedies, so similar and still so raw for both families, here is where their tragedies divide.
My dad had checked into a motel, suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't know what goes on in the mind of somebody who suffers from that. And he took his own life. He shot himself.
He was surrounded by newspaper clippings of this event in 1980. Staff Sergeant Ed Adamson was, for 25 years, tortured by the fact that despite his heroic efforts, he couldn't save Constable Michael Sweet in a hostage-taking on Queen West in 1980. His widow won't show her face. She still lives in fear of Constable Sweet's killers, who taunted and threatened the Adamson family from jail for decades.
Ed died that night. They didn't kill just 1 officer, they killed 2. My husband just took 25 years to die.
And this wall, honoring fallen officers, also divides these 2 widows. Detective Michael Irwin's name is on it. Staff Sergeant Ed Adamson's name is not.
My husband gave his life, he didn't take his life. And that really is where I stand very strong on that. When you're on duty and you give your life has been taken away from you. You can't go home to a family.
If you look on the plaque, it says heroes in life, not death. What my dad did was a heroic action. The fact that he didn't suffer a physical injury, he didn't get shot, he did die that day. And he just continued to die over the next 25 years. And I believe that because of that, he deserves to be on that wall. He deserves to be among those officers.
In 2008, a provincial body ruled that Adamson's suicide was an on-duty death because he was suffering from a workplace injury, post-traumatic stress disorder, and that it was that injury that caused him to take his own life.
The Adamson family has been trying for 3 years to have Eddie's name on that wall. Now there's a different tact, going after it from a perspective of discrimination.
So the allegation in the Human Rights Tribunal complaint is that he's being discriminated against on the basis of mental illness, on the basis of his PTSD, because that is no different from suffering a physical injury at work.
The police statement on why Ed Adamson's name is still not on the wall is delicately worded. The Toronto Police Service and the Toronto Police Association are working closely to try to formulate criteria for the most appropriate ways to recognize officers who died while serving the Toronto Police Service. It is, of course, tragic whenever anyone loses their life as a result of their work in policing. Barb Irwin says she feels the Adamsons' pain, that his death was a tragedy, but her broken heart stands firm.
That name is not entitled to be on there any more than there is for all other officers that have committed suicide.
My sense is that you feel that if his name goes up there, it waters down
The meaning of the wall. It does. It waters it down. It takes all the respect away from that wall.
The feeling runs so deep that Barbara Irwin's son, a retired cop, has made a heart-wrenching decision.
If they put Eddie Adamson's name on the wall, he says, I'm going to request that my father's name be taken off of there.
Do you really feel so strongly about this, Barbara, that you would have your husband's name removed from the wall?
I think it would be a very big possibility, to be perfectly honest. It would break my heart. I think there should be a wall erected, and it could be in honor of Eddie Adamson for people who have PTSD. It doesn't belong in the same place. It doesn't belong in the same place, no.